Saturday morning, 9 o'clock in Miami, Florida. People are getting on about their business of enjoying the weekend. A resident of a downtown high-rise apartment building named Michael Pearson is strolling across the courtyard in front of his building on his way to his car. All of a sudden, he's watching a human explode on the sidewalk next to him. Now, where did he come from?
Miami Police, so much for just reported your emergency.
Someone just jumped right in front of me.
Hello?
Yes, someone just suicided themselves. Just jumped.
From where?
From off the tower, all the way down to the first floor.
There's the address of your emergency.
915 First Avenue, we have a jumper.
Okay, did he jump already?
Yes, he already jumped.
My first name is Joseph. My last name is Shalacy. Very proud to say that I worked with the City of Miami Police Department, roughly 29 to 30 years of service. I was a homicide detective from 2001 to 2006.
2029. Repeat location for 14.
I'd worked 3 straight days. I was mentally and physically exhausted and extremely excited about going home. My family is everything to me.
Lazy.
Hey, Sarge.
I get a call from Detective Rodriguez. Said, hey, Sarge, we got a jumper. I know you're tired going home. I got this. I'll take care of it.
Okay. How you want, brother? Thanks.
I don't know what it was, but when I hung up the phone, something felt different within me. I had to go there.
When Shalacy arrives at this scene, he's in a courtyard of a high-end apartment complex on Biscayne Bay.
When I was brand new in Homicide, I had a really good trainer at the time, and he said, I want you to always remember this and never forget it, ever. Don't you ever, ever let anybody see you with that deer-in-the-headlight look, ever, because people are counting on you. People are very desperate and counting on you to walk that walk and talk that talk. I was only into Homicide for 3 months, and I live by that motto. Not because I'm cocky, not because I'm arrogant, but because people are relying on me. So I do have to walk that walk and talk that talk.
Shalacy, what the hell are you doing here?
I said, just give me a couple of minutes to see what's going on, and then, I'll go home.
What we got?
It was surreal because you have all this life around you, but then right at your feet, you have death. I pulled the sheet back, and I was immediately struck by how young he looked. And I thought to myself, what would be so bad in this man's life that he would do something so horrific, so desperate, so lonely?
Come here. Did you see this?
But then I quickly realized that something's not right. The last thing I was expecting to see were the stab marks. So then I took kind of like a step back emotionally and started to really look deeper.
Shalacy also sees incised wounds, cuts in his arms, his hands, and his wrists. Are those defensive wounds? Trying to protect himself from somebody wielding a blade?
One of the first things we look for are the fingernails. He had chipped fingernails, like if he were struggling or fighting for his life. I don't think he jumped from the balcony. I think he was thrown from the balcony.
All right, everyone, come on, gather around.
I told everybody they had to stop what they were doing. We had to find the crime scene because that's where this all happened. That's the primary scene.
Shalacy looks around him and sees 20 stories of apartments. Which one is the magic one? He doesn't know.
When we were out there in the courtyard, we noticed cameras.
Yeah, we got cameras stationed all over the place.
I locate the security director to see if he could give me access to the footage.
They look at surveillance video from the parking garage in the complex from that morning and prior evening.
What was it right there?
He sees a car enter this complex at 6:50 in the morning, containing an individual who is the person lying dead under a sheet in the courtyard of that building.
Who's that right there?
We actually see a young woman that's in the passenger seat with him.
He sees a female wearing a red track jacket. Who is she? And how can she be with this guy 2 hours and 10 minutes before his death? Is she part of this?
We had to find that girl. She could unlock a lot of unanswered questions for us.
Banging, screaming, nothing?
Nothing.
During the canvass, I was getting extremely frustrated because we weren't getting the help we were hoping for. Nobody saw anything, nobody heard anything.
I haven't seen him at all.
Out of sight, out of mind. That's the best way to put it.
Joe?
What's up? What's that?
Hey, I think I got something.
As we were doing our canvass, Detective Rodriguez actually saw some blinds blowing outward from one of the rooms.
What floor are you looking at?
13? No, it's 14.
They determined that the apartment in question is apartment 1414.
Hey, police department, open the door.
The tenant of that apartment is a single male whose name is James Glass, and he's 23 years of age.
When we knocked on the door and there was no answer,
Can you unlock it, please?
we had exigent circumstances to go in.
Yeah, this is the place.
As soon as we made entry and I saw the blood, I knew that this was our scene.
There's a bloody blanket on a sofa. They can see blood on the floor. There's blood everywhere.
Clear.
I immediately realized that apartment 1414 belonged to our victim, James Glass, at the bottom of the building.
So now they know who he is and where he came from. The question remains, how did he get that way?
So now, at that point, I kind of saw out of my peripheral some bloody drag marks going off. So I peeled off from the group and followed the bloody trail into the bathroom.
In the bathroom, he finds a bloody towel on the floor. And out of the corner of his eye, he sees something in the bathtub.
And I couldn't believe the horror of what I saw. I still can't believe it. I just remember holding my breath. I didn't really think what I was seeing is what I was seeing. It was too surreal to me.
In the bathtub is a female dressed in her underwear, and her hair is matted with blood. Shalacy looks at her and realizes it's the girl from the surveillance video in the garage. This woman's not a witness. She's not a suspect. She's victim number 2.
Jose!
I was so shocked.
Jose!
I just couldn't get past the innocence of what she looked like to me. It's not that I'm just seeing the victim laying in a bathtub. I'm seeing my own children.
Shalacy's emotion was hinged to his family. He pictured his daughter in that bathtub. I understand that. I've been there, and it is beyond ugly.
After getting over the initial shock, my immediate thoughts were, we had a double homicide. I noticed that there's a tremendous amount of blood coming from underneath her chest.
He sees 2 stab wounds in the central chest. They appear to be deep. He also sees blunt force trauma to the head, producing the matted blood in the hair. So he looks around in the bathroom to see if there are any weapons in here. And he sees a pair of bloody scissors on the sink.
There was some hair that was inside the fold of the scissors that looked like it matched the black hair of the victim. And then I could see some blood droplets. It was very apparent to me that somebody had stabbed her with those scissors. There was an iron that had some blood on it. It looked like the cord had been broken off of it, which, in my line of work, that's called a clue, a big clue.
Most likely, the iron is used as an instrument of blunt trauma. But why is the cord ripped out of that iron? Was your attempt to strangle the victim with that?
We also saw some cleaning supplies.
It's apparent that someone had thought to try to clean this up. But it's a feeble attempt.
After being in that bathroom for just a very short period of time, I found myself literally in hell.
There is a purse in the living room of this apartment, and it's been dumped on the floor.
Going through the belongings, we were able to find identification that belonged to 26-year-old Amy Hoyos. That was the young lady that was in the bathtub. We actually found a couple of cell phones on the floor, and it looked like one of the cell phones may have belonged to Amy.
It looks like this is passcode protected. We're gonna need a warrant to get in.
If we could just get into the phone, that would certainly unlock a lot of clues or information that would be helpful in this case.
What else we looking at here, gang?
Right here, detective.
We discovered there was a bloody knife. Obviously, that was going to be a weapon that was used.
Someone is motivated to kill these people. Use a blade or a pair of scissors, then it's because you mean it. And when you're worried that the stab wounds aren't going to work, you hit this girl over the head with an iron. And you throw the male off a balcony 14 stories above the street. You are determined that these people have to die.
All right, good. I want to see if I can get in touch with the families. Are you okay to oversee this?
Yeah, man, I got this.
All right. Thank you.
What is going on between these people? We now find them to be united in death. How were they in life? Families are the best source for that kind of information.
Absolutely. Thank you.
I got a hold of Amy's father first.
Is Amy in some sort of trouble?
Couldn't even get the words out. I do remember not being able to tell him, your daughter is dead.
Oh, she's gone.
I can only say your daughter's gone. Just an experience that I'll never forget for as long as I'm alive. I knew, I could hear it in his voice, how much he loved his daughter. I just felt like I wronged him in the worst way. Everything that he lived for, his mere existence, in a blink of an eye, was gone.
Getting that type of news is devastating. It really is. That your little sister is gone. I'd never imagined that something like this would happen.
Amy was a beautiful person, beautiful inside and out. She was just always thoughtful and wanted to put people first. She just had a really kind soul.
Amy was a receptionist, and she also may have done a little bit of club promoting here and there, but it wasn't like her aspirations in life. She did it happily, but she really wanted to be a firefighter.
She was a tough girl, but she had that soft heart. She always wanted to care for others. Amy would have been amazing as a firefighter.
Mr. Hoyes, what can you tell me about Amy's friend James? Did you know him well?
No, not really.
Trying to figure out what their relationship was very, very important.
From what my sister told me, James was new here. His family was from Texas. He didn't really know anyone, and so she wanted to be a good friend to him.
James was a normal guy. The relationship between Amy and James was strictly friendship. There was never anything more to it. She's a caretaker, so, you know, she just kind of wanted to be that friend to kind of show him around the city.
And what about last night? Do you know what Amy was doing?
She was at her sister's.
I was moving to Boca, and Amy was helping me move. She had said she was going to stay with me that night, and when I woke up in the morning, I realized she wasn't there. Part of me was surprised, and part of me was, that's just like her. Many times I've thought if she'd just stayed, if she hadn't gone, you know, maybe she'd still be here.
Hey. I promise you, I will figure out who did this to your daughter.
And I can tell you one thing for sure, I was going to get that man answers. I was going to get that man answers.
Shalacy gets in contact by telephone with James Glass's family in North Texas.
I'm sorry to have to tell you this, sir, but something's happened to your son, James.
Death notification, to me personally, is the hardest part of the job because you're essentially going to a mother, a father, brother, or sister, and you're turning their lives upside down. When I called his dad, I learned that James's family, they were in the real estate business, and James actually had come to Miami to start up his own real estate business. Searching the apartment, there was some paperwork that we found that dealt with him trying to start up a real estate business, but he didn't complete it.
Well, what about Amy? Did he ever mention her?
Yeah, he brought her up a couple times.
James's father knew very little about Amy, but He did know that James really liked her. He liked her so much that he was showing the family her picture at a wedding that he went to in Texas.
Did James have issues with anyone that you knew of?
James's dad said no. He did not have any enemies that they were aware of.
We'll be in touch as soon as we find anything out. Thank you. Hey, come on in.
It looks like the last call in the call log was from a local number.
That's great. Let's try it.
Being able to get the search warrant and get into Amy's phone was very instrumental in this investigation.
When Shalacy calls that last number,
Hello?
a guy answers immediately. Shalacy says, "Are you a friend of Amy Hoyos?"
Who's this?
It's Detective Shalacy with the Miami Police Department.
What? Wait, the police? What exactly is this about?
He kept asking me questions that I could provide. I can't tell him what's going on because I don't know who he is.
Sir, did you speak with an Amy Hoyos last night? Hello?
He hung up on me. That's making him very, very, very suspicious.
Shalacy knows it's time to find out what is the story with this guy and how does he know a girl that happens to be dead in a bathtub.
What do you want?
Sir, do not hang up on me. I need you to listen to me.
I did not recognize the phone number that called me. I said, look, I don't know who you are. For all I know, you could be somebody crazy. I said, why don't you give me your name, badge number, and what department you're with, and let me verify who you are.
Our policy is that we have to identify ourselves. So I gave him my badge number. Then he started to open up and share some more information about himself and Amy.
My name's Abe Metz.
He says his name is Abe Metz. He drives a limousine for a living, and he does take some rather well-known people around Miami.
Based on experience and background, I did not want to divulge information about people who I know or clients to anybody without first vetting who they are.
Okay, all right, I understand that, Abe, and I'm sorry for the confusion. Now, do you think you can please tell me how you know Amy?
Amy was a club promoter, and I was at the time working for a larger limousine company, and I had met her through hotel concierges where she would promote the clubs that she was engaged with. The business relationship that we had ended up turning into a friendship.
All right, so why were you in contact with her last night? Did you see her?
So at this point, the case gets really interesting because the limo driver tells me him and Amy were at a club with James.
We met up with James.
Hey, this is James.
And this other gentleman named Juan.
James just moved here from Texas.
How do you like Miami? It's an adjustment, but
There were no issues at the club. There was no instances of any argument or any fight or spat.
You guys ready for these shots?
shots, yeah, let's do some shots.
The nightlife in Miami is very different from anywhere else. When you go out to a club, pretty much the norm is show up about 1 o'clock in the morning. That's when the party is really starting to happen.
Miami nightlife is known to get a late start. They say that Miami Beach doesn't really wake up till 11 p.m. And it's very normal for people to end their nights or mornings at 5, 6, 7 o'clock in the morning.
What are you drinking, Abe?
No, I'm good. Early morning.
So Abe says that he decided to leave the bar because he had to work the next day.
Now I know that James, Amy, and Juan are together, all three of them, at the club.
You know Juan's last name?
No, I don't. I think he said he lives in the same apartment complex as James. Look, I can't talk right now. I'm waiting to pick up a client. I gotta go.
All right, thanks.
Now I want to know who Juan is.
Let's go.
Shalacy goes back to the apartment complex and asks the resident manager, is there anybody named Juan who lives here? Well, there's a guy named Juan Diaz who lives on the 10th floor. He's 26 years old. That could work.
Please have a seat, Mr. Diaz.
Mr. Diaz was cooperative. He comes to the station and he gives me a tape recorded statement.
I want to do a time, Mike.
on exactly what involvement you had with James Glass and Amy Boya.
Okay. I met with James in my house. We have a couple of years. Then he told me, like, man, let's go to a player because Amy's gonna go there.
During that tape recorded statement, he gives me detail after detail, a timeline of what transpired.
We were there like for about 20 minutes, and then I saw Amy talking to a guy. And then she said, I want to meet my friend.
The limo driver.
Yeah,
So she introduces you to Abe.
Yeah.
Now that was around 1:45?
1:45, yeah.
Juan says it was about 3 o'clock in the morning, and they decided they were going to go home and continue to party.
We went to James' apartment. We used the back entrance.
He told us that while they were at the apartment, Amy was uncomfortable with Mr. Diaz because she thought he was going to give drugs to James.
She was saying that I want you to be careful with James because he used to do other drugs before.
He used to do a lot of drugs.
Yeah.
She was trying to help James, so she didn't want any drugs in that apartment. So she asked James to ask Juan to leave.
He's like, man, I think she's probably his girl. I'm like, oh man, I was about to go to the night. I went to bed. That was her.
You never saw him again.
No, it's fine.
And that was around 3:45?
3:40.
Shalacy looks at Juan and says, you understand what you've just told me, don't you? You're the last person in contact with two people who are now dead as a result of a violent attack. And Juan sees where this conversation is going and says, now, wait a minute. I wasn't the last guy to leave.
A limo driver?
Well, when you left, the limo driver was still there?
Yeah.
Okay, Abe is the limo driver.
Yeah.
That just absolutely blew my mind. And I'm like, what? Did I just hear that? Because Abe never said that he went to that apartment, ever. As far as Juan Diaz and his alibi, we were able to go back to the video footage. And lo and behold, we see him get on an elevator right around 3:45. And what button does he push? The 10th floor.
And the elevator tapes do not show him regaining the elevator the rest of the evening. So he's not there, like he says. Certainly left before these people were killed.
At that point, we essentially eliminated him as our suspect. So now I need to go find the limo driver because he was the last person to be seen with James and Amy. He became my #1 suspect.
Hello? Hey, it's Detective Shalacy.
Police called back again. I made it clear that I couldn't meet with them or talk to them for very long because I had a customer coming into the vehicle and had to take them to dinner.
I'm like, I don't care where you're at. Stop. I have to talk to you.
That Coconut Grove for the next 30 minutes.
Now it's almost like a cat and mouse game. I mean, in my mind, he's dodging me. I mean, the level of urgency was indescribable.
That night that the police talked to me, it felt very uncomfortable.
Listen up, babe. I'm gonna ask you this only once.
I didn't want him to know you're my #1 suspect, but I also wanted him to know, hey, well, you got to work with me.
Did you go back to James's house last night after the bar?
Yeah, I did.
Abe immediately admits it. Yes, I was there. I took them all back there.
Why didn't you just tell us that in the first place?
It's because of my job.
It wasn't done so much as to hide anything. It was because of the fact that I had in my control a company-issued vehicle.
He was using that limousine for personal services, and he wasn't supposed to.
Abe's explanation does make sense to Shalacy, but he still remains the last person that sees those two alive, and he's physically in that apartment.
And I said, tell me exactly what happened when you went back to James's apartment.
After Juan left, It was just myself, James, and Amy. And I was at that point drifting off because I was exhausted. I had to be back at work at 8 a.m. And I realized that if I don't leave now, I'm not going to be able to function. So I made the decision to leave.
Hey, great to meet you, man. All right, get home safe.
And at what time did you say you picked up your client again?
I've been with him all day. I picked him up at 8 this morning.
So there's no way that Abe could be in that apartment at 9 o'clock in the morning killing people when he's driving a client around beginning at 8 a.m.
There's no way Mr. Abe Metz was responsible for their deaths. His timeline matches up, his alibi matches up, so we eliminated him as a suspect.
So, is Amy okay?
When I finally told him that James and Amy were dead, he reacted the way I thought somebody that really cared about them would react. He was devastated.
Oh my God.
I was shocked. I honestly couldn't believe that something like that happened.
I'm very sorry for your loss.
What do we do now? Abe is not a suspect in this crime. He's never been a witness to this crime. We have literally run out of suspects.
We had a double homicide. And I so badly wanted to know who did this. So I go to Amy's family to find out, does she have enemies? Does she have people that don't like her? You know, what kind of person is she that would ultimately cause what happened to her?
Honestly, if I'm worried about anyone, it's James.
Why do you say that?
I heard about James through my mother. I believe my mother said Amy is keeping company with this boy, and I don't feel good about it.
I never actually met him, but other people in my family have, and they all got this really weird feeling about him.
She says to Shalacy that it seemed to them that James had a fixation of romance with Amy, that Amy wasn't reciprocating.
She cared for him, and I guess he probably took her good heart, her good nature. He took it the wrong way, thinking that maybe there was something more than just friendship.
Did you talk to Amy about this?
Yes, we all did.
They urged her not to hang around with him because they weren't on the same level with each other.
Amy said, he's a friend. He needs me. He doesn't have anyone else. And I want to be a friend to him.
Amy's that person that she's gonna stick by your side. She really kept her friends close, and you know, she's gonna be that ride or die kind of person.
Thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it.
Shalacy doesn't know if this infatuation James apparently has with Amy plays a part in this case, but he knows enough to know that it could.
So I went back to that apartment because that apartment possessed the answers. It wasn't at Amy's parents' house. It wasn't at James's parents' house. It wasn't at the clubs. The real answers to me were in that apartment.
Shalacy starts looking at this apartment differently than he did before. Before it was all about physical evidence, but not now. Now he's looking for lifestyle indications. Who are you, James? Who are you?
Every square inch of that house I searched. In his bedroom, he had everything strewn all over the place.
But then Shalacy finds a pristine display of clothing. Neatly pressed, hangers spaced exactly 2 inches apart. It's as neat as a pin. So what exactly does all this mean?
What's up, Rodriguez?
I get a call from Detective Rodriguez.
What do you say?
He tells me that James's father received a voicemail from James right before James's death.
The contents of that message could turn this case upside down.
It's game-changing information.
Detective Shalacy is at a loss for suspects in the murders of Amy Hoyos and James Glass. Just when he thinks that he doesn't know where to go next, James's father has discovered a voicemail on his cell phone.
What's up, Rodriguez?
Placed moments before James Jr.'s death.
Dad? I did some bad things.
According to the father, James sounds depressed, defeated.
James tells his dad, you know, Dad, you always fix my problems. You always clean up my mess. But this is a mess that you can't even clean up.
James's father goes on to explain that James Jr. has taken antidepressants in the past, that he had a recent breakup with a girlfriend in Texas, and he took it very, very, very badly, and that James Jr. has a temper. And when he drinks, his temper can flare.
Okay, thanks, man.
This was the defining moment for me. I'll never, ever, ever forget it. I was sitting on the bed, and a light bulb came on. It was like a halogen light bulb. They just lit my brain up. He's got unworn shoes, unworn suits in one area, but then his floors in disarray. I realized at that moment that he was living a double life. He was trying to live in the shoes of his father, and he was torn. He was just absolutely torn. He could not do it. Now I'm thinking that James killed Amy and then killed himself.
The most maddening part of homicide investigation is not having the answers you require. And the best of all of us in homicide, Shalacy being an example, do not rest until they find those answers.
So at this point in the investigation, I go to the autopsy because I know this was going to give us a lot of the pieces of the puzzle that needed to fit. The medical examiner ultimately tells us that the wounds on his arms that I thought were defensive wounds from blocking blows were wounds from the fall.
They're as a result of falling through a palm tree at high speed from the 14th floor because the coroner finds plant material in the wound sites. Further,
on the wrist
cuts appear to be self-inflicted superficial cuts to the wrist, which is not uncommon in people who try to kill themselves.
When we look on the chest,
the medical exam was very clear about the stab wounds to his chest. They only went in about a half an inch over the heart.
This is a self-inflicted wound as well.
So everything is explained as not being put there by someone trying to kill this person.
The ultimate cause of death for James was blunt force injury from the fall.
Let's go, come on.
If his purpose was to end his days and he fell to his death from this balcony, well, who killed Amy? The only person there was James. Amy was James's last lifeline, his last grip on society. She was the only one that understood his feelings and his depression over his circumstances.
We know that Mr. Diaz and a limo driver left the apartment. They're out of the picture. We know that at some point, James and Amy leave the apartment and go out again because we see them coming in at 6:52.
You want another drink?
No, I gotta go to sleep. And so should you.
Do you want to sleep in my bed, maybe?
No, I'm good here. All right, night, buddy.
Good night.
Hey, James, what are you doing? Hey.
I strongly believe that James was so infatuated and so in love with her that he made some advances towards her.
Stop.
Come on, Amy. I see the way that you look at
That's not what this is.
Yeah, well, what is it?
No.
Do you just get off on teasing me?
Stop,
I'm not good enough for you.
Amy violently resists him.
Get off of me!
So when he felt this betrayal, he snapped.
What is it? I'm not good enough for you.
He absolutely snapped.
James Glass is depressed. He is concerned about his future. He doesn't believe he has one. He has a girl who seems to care about him, and he discovers she doesn't respond to him romantically. All this happens to him in a matter of a few milliseconds.
In that moment, he went into a rage. I think he went black. He thrust a scissor straight through her sternum bone into her heart.
That doesn't cause her immediate death. He tries to strangle her with the cord in the iron, and it breaks loose from the iron. Then he uses it as a blunt instrument and strikes her in the head with it. And this does kill her.
Then he dragged her lifeless body into the bathroom. He thought if he put her in the bathtub, that he could clean up what he did. But it didn't happen that way. He now is at a point where he realizes what he's done, and there's no way out. He took the life of this innocent, beautiful young lady who was the one person that listened to him, that understood what he was going through. And he took that away.
What have I done? I don't deserve to live. He tries to cut his wrist, and that doesn't work.
He even stabbed himself in the chest over the heart to say, you know, I'm not worthy. And then when that didn't work, he ultimately made that call to his dad, told his dad, Dad, this is a mess that you can't clean up.
I don't know what else to do. Tell everyone I love them. I'm sorry.
So what's he do next? He knows something that will work. He looks at that balcony. There's only one teardropped blood drop. One drop. He's not walking. He's running. Running to his death.
That was it. He was not going to fail at it. He failed at everything else, but he was not going to fail at that.
The murder of Amy Hoyos is closed by exception because the suspect is deceased, and the death of James Glass is a suicide, self-inflicted, no crime.
One of my biggest responsibilities as a death investigator was carrying that message back to the family to say, this is what happened.
Putting all the pieces together and figuring things out, James was obsessed with her. I wish she would have listened, you know, when I said, leave him alone.
At first I was mad, but then again, I thought he was sick. So I don't think that someone in their right mind would be capable of doing something like that. And so I have found in my heart to forgive him for what he did.
The way that it happened so tragically, it took a toll on me. It took me some years to kind of put her spirit to rest. I started running a lot of 5Ks, then 10Ks, and half marathons. And I ran a marathon, and every time I did these things, I've always done them in her honor. And so I would wear a button on my shirt that would say, running for Amy. In all honesty, that was always the thing from the start to the finish line, that I knew Amy was by my side, cheering me on, just like she cheered me on when she was alive. And just remember all the happier times.
I'll never have the chance to have that time with my sister, to share adulthood with her, to have her meet my children, and I'll never see her get married and have her own children. That part of it is devastating.
I will go as far as saying this case is the case that has haunted me the most. James needed help, but unfortunately it was the kind of help that Amy couldn't provide.
Amy did not realize or suspect that James Glass's depression was so deep-seated, and she understood what a fragile condition his emotions were in. she would not have stayed in that apartment. She didn't believe James could hurt her or hurt himself. She was wrong.
Santa Fe 911, where's your emergency?
They're dead! They have gunshot wounds to the head! They're dead!
It was Father's Day 2011 when Cherie Ortiz walked into her parents' home and found the bodies of her mother and father.
They had been shot in the head, and it had occurred sometime earlier in the day.
I just walked in their house and everybody shot in the head.
The brutality was unspeakable.
The hunt to find the killer would tear the community apart and devastate Cherie.
I really do have hope this is going to get solved.
My name is Sloan Glass. I'm a journalist who covered the Long Island serial killer, the Delphi, Indiana murders, and many other high-profile true crime cases. And now, I'm the host of American Homicide, a podcast where we take you across the country to investigate some of America's deadliest crimes. We'll explore how these murders are shaped by their unique landscapes and how these tragedies have shaped the fabric of these American communities forever. Today, we're in the tiny village of El Rancho, New Mexico, for part 1 of the Father's Day murders on American Homicide. As a note, this podcast contains subject matter which may not be suitable for all audiences. Discretion is advised. Let me paint a picture for you. Santa Fe, New Mexico is called the City Different for its rich culture and diverse community. Native American ancestries blend with Spanish culture in a state with one of America's richest landscapes.
Northern New Mexico in particular, it's a very unique place. It's beautiful.
Alex Tomlin was a local TV news reporter who lives in the area.
It has impeccable weather and the mountains are incredible.
The region is home to natural hot springs and wild rivers.
You can drive an hour north and go whitewater rafting, or you can go down to White Sands and enjoy that. But kind of on the outskirts of Santa Fe, you get a lot of the smaller communities.
And one such place is the tiny village of El Rancho. The predominantly Hispanic community is about 20 miles from Santa Fe and is built around co-op farming and churches.
It's a lot of people who have kind of grown there, have families there, kind of all know each other.
But it's also a desolate place.
One of the things about New Mexico is it's so open. When you go to someone's home, often they have a significant sized property. There's not neighbors very close.
And even though the homes are all spread out across the desert,
everyone kind of knows each other, but there is an interesting dynamic here. As much as it's known for its beauty, it's also known for the crime.
The tragic murders on Father's Day 2011 would stretch the fabric of El Rancho to its limits.
So June 18th, 2011 seemed like any normal night.
Cherie Ortiz had dinner plans with her parents, Lloyd and Dixie.
Cherie Ortiz, she lived on the property with the Ortizes.
Her parents and brother lived in a large one-story house, and Cherie and her husband lived in an RV next door. Even though there's a fence around their spacious property, the family had an open-door policy.
Anyone could come in, have dinner at their table, or spend time with them. They were just kind of a good family in this community that was very tight-knit.
Lloyd Ortiz was a man who loved to use his hands. He owned his own ceramic tile business. His craftsmanship turned up in homes and even luxury hotels all over northern New Mexico.
He was an incredibly loving father, a hardworking man who provided for his family, his wife, Dixie.
They sound like a perfect pair. Dixie was passionate about working with the elderly and the disabled. She was an activities director at a local retirement home, and she fostered children with special needs.
They took in a child who had shaken baby syndrome and adopted him as their own, raised that child, loved that child.
That child's name was Stephen. Stephen had special needs from his early life injuries. His brain never developed beyond that of a 9-year-old, but he matured into a young man that his family called the Gentle Giant. He loved to play drums, ride his ATV, and fish with Lloyd.
They were just really giving, loving people, very northern New Mexico, hardworking, love the land, love the culture kind of thing.
Since it was Father's Day, Cherie Ortiz whipped up a plate of homemade enchiladas for dinner. It was her gift. Just before 7 o'clock that evening, she took them and walked next door to her parents. Even though it was June, white Christmas icicle lights still hung on the gutters of her parents' home. Inside, the walls were adorned with crucifixes and some of Lloyd's handmade tiles.
Cherie said she walks in and realizes something's very wrong. She found her mother in bed. Her mother's head was pretty damaged. She thought someone maybe had shot her. She then went into the kitchen area and found what she thought was her father on the kitchen floor. The body was just so impacted by what was used against them. There's these two bodies. There's blood everywhere. She goes screaming out of the house, and for her husband, again, they lived on the property, so it was pretty close.
Cherie's husband, Jesse, ran right over to investigate.
Her husband then comes in the house, and he realizes it's not her father on the kitchen floor, it's actually her brother. And that's when he starts searching around and finds her father outside, right outside the back door, kind of in the field there.
Lloyd's body was found on a cinder block path that connected the Ortiz back porch to their fenced-in yard. He was face down, wearing only his underwear. His eyeglasses sat just inches away. Covering his head was some green shrubbery. By now, Cherie was on the phone.
Santa Fe 911, where's your emergency?
They're dead. They have gunshot wounds to the head. They're dead. They've been dead since this morning.
What is your name?
It's Cherie.
Cherie frantically told the 911 operator that her mother, father, and brother were shot to death.
I just walked in their house and everybody's shot in the head. My brother, my dad, and my mom's still dead.
This was Cherie's second attempt at a 911 call. Since Cherie and her parents' homes were out in the middle of the desert, her cell reception was spotty. Imagine the panic, the fear that your call would drop again when you're trying to get emergency help for your family. And she didn't know where the perpetrator was or if they were still on the property.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. I am freaking out. I can't even walk over there because I lose service.
And then there's another problem. El Rancho is way off the beaten path, which delays the response time for law enforcement.
Oh my God, you have to hurry.
They're on the way.
You have to tell them to hurry.
They're on the way.
With no local police force of their own, the New Mexico State Police were dispatched to investigate.
I can't believe they're already dead. I can't believe I didn't come check earlier this morning. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. Why? You know, and all because I didn't have money for a Father's Day gift. I didn't want to go until I finished cooking enchiladas for him.
Run.
Oh my God.
Cherie stayed on the phone for nearly 20 minutes before officers arrived.
All units are going as fast as they can to get there.
I'm going to walk to the gate and wait for them. I'm like too nervous just sitting in my yard.
My name is Paul Chavez. I was a member of the full-time crime scene unit as an agent with the New Mexico State Police.
The 200 homicide cases Officer Chavez worked in his career didn't prepare him for what he saw inside the Ortiz house.
In this case, the magnitude of the violence involved was the worst that I had seen in my career. The brutality was unspeakable. Cherie Ortiz had found her parents and her adopted stepbrother dead within the residence. She reported that they had been shot in the head, and it had occurred sometime earlier in the day.
It turns out that although Cherie said she didn't see who committed these murders, she did hear something.
There was reportedly gunshots heard the previous night in the area.
Now, hearing gunshots isn't entirely unusual in New Mexico, but Cherie and her parents' homes sit on a dead-end street in the rural New Mexico desert. It's a remote area with unpaved roads and no nearby streetlights. Their nearest neighbor is about 50 yards up the road. Inside the Ortiz home, Officer Chavez and his team assess the situation.
Once I enter into the residence, there is a master bedroom immediately to the left as you walk in, and that is where the first victim, identified as Dixie Ortiz, is in her bed, in her nightgown, under the blankets.
Dixie was found clutching her pillow.
Her upper extremities and her head is completely saturated in blood, where she had sustained apparent trauma. From that bedroom, there's a drip trail which extends to the kitchen area, where we have a second victim, a young man identified as Stephen Ortiz.
Stephen, her adopted brother, lay face down in a pool of blood, wearing only his underwear. Police noted that he took the brunt of the attack.
That scene was absolutely brutal.
Stephen was 21 years old at the time of his murder, and based on his injuries, police believe that he tried to fight off the killer before ultimately losing that battle.
The blood continued from that area out the back door, where the third victim, Lloyd Ortiz, was found outside the back porch. There was a significant amount of bloodshed, indicating that he did sustain some massive trauma. And there was also shrubbery from a nearby bush that was covering his head.
That's 2 bloodied bodies inside the home and 1 outside. And then something else stood out to law enforcement.
There was a small marijuana grow on the property. It was fenced off and padlocked. They did have a medical marijuana card for Stephen for some of the medical conditions he had.
But none of the 17 marijuana plants appeared to be disturbed. In fact, nothing seemed to be stolen or even out of place. On the kitchen table, in plain view, sat Lloyd's wallet containing hundreds of dollars.
This did not look like a robbery. It looked like a case of anger. A lot of anger based on the brutality that occurred.
It was a Father's Day to forget for residents in this tiny suburb of Santa Fe, New Mexico. Lloyd and Dixie Ortiz were pillars of the tight-knit El Rancho community. They were quick to lend a helping hand to others in need. So who was angry enough to harm them? And why?
On June 11th, 1998, a deputy from the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department went missing.
It's an all-out manhunt for John Auger. Every search and rescue team in LA County has been called in to help.
Within days, tips started flooding into the Sheriff's Department.
The rumor around the drug scene was that a deputy was taken care of.
Is this the story of a man who just got lost in the desert? Or of a cover-up inside the nation's largest sheriff's department?
A homicide captain saying, "Detective, do not find out if this guy's guilty or innocent." Who does that?
Valley of Shadows, a new series from Pushkin Industries about crime and corruption in California's high desert.
Do you have any advice for us while looking into this disappearance?
I wouldn't do it alone.
Listen to Valley of Shadows on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
You know Roald Dahl, the writer who thought up Willy Wonka, Matilda, and the BFG. But did you know he was also a spy?
Was this before he wrote his stories? It must have been.
Our new podcast series, The Secret World of Roald Dahl, is a wild journey through the hidden chapters of his extraordinary, controversial life.
His job was literally to seduce the wives of powerful Americans.
What?
And he was really good at it.
You probably won't believe it either.
Okay, I don't think that's true.
I'm telling you, the guy was a spy.
Did you know Dahl got cozy with the Roosevelts, played poker with Harry Truman, and had a long affair with a congresswoman? And then he took his talents to Hollywood, where he worked alongside Walt Disney and Alfred Hitchcock before writing a hit James Bond film. How did this secret agent wind up as the most successful children's author ever? And what darkness from his covert past seeped into the stories we read as kids? The true story is stranger than anything he ever wrote. Listen to The Secret World of Roald Dahl on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
The more you listen to your kids, the closer you'll be. So we asked kids, what do you want your parents to hear?
I feel sometimes that I'm not listened to. I would just want you to listen to me more often and evaluate situations with me and lead me towards success.
Listening is a form of love. Find resources to help you support your kids and their emotional well-being at sounditouttogether.org. That's sounditouttogether.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and Pivotal.
Shuri Ortiz lived in an RV right next door to her parents' house, on the same property. Both homes sat on a sprawling lot surrounded by hills in the dusty El Rancho, New Mexico desert. On the evening of Father's Day 2011, Shuri walked into her parents' house and found her mother father, and brother, savagely murdered. Like many others in the community, Pastor John Trujillo was in shock.
I get a phone call. They call me PJ, Pastor John. It says, PJ, they found Stephen, Lloyd, and Dixie dead. I said, what are you talking about? Was it a car accident? What happened? He says, no, it seems like they were murdered in their home. You need to get down here right away. And as I drive up, the community is already showing up. State police are there. And about that time, Cherie made her way out, and she was just in tears and tears and tears. And just, Pastor John, my family's dead, my family's dead. Somebody murdered my family, somebody killed my family. How do you handle that? What do you do? I mean, can you imagine the emotional and physical and just spiritual distraught that you would face? Nobody can prepare for that. I don't care. Nobody's prepared to walk into a scene like that, especially the daughter. The family was grieving and they were mourning. It's El Rancho. This isn't supposed to happen in a community like this. People are, speculating that could this have happened from the community? Did somebody come here from somewhere else? Was it a family member? Was it a friend? Was it a robbery that went wrong? Why? It was like, okay, we need some answers.
Since El Rancho didn't have a police force of their own, the New Mexico State Police handled the investigation. By morning, the police still didn't know much.
We're still unsure as to what happened out there. The guys are still working very hard to determine what exactly happened, but at this point, we still don't know.
How in the world could something like this happen? One person dead, okay, but when there's three, it raises a lot of questions.
Police believe that 3 victims were shot to death inside their home, but nothing appeared to be missing. Investigators wondered if it was a murder or a murder-suicide. Officer Paul Chavez was one of the first responders.
My role primarily is to process and document the crime scene and try and make sense of what occurred there.
But the severity of the crime scene limited what he was able to do.
You can't disturb the body much. And with the amount of bloodshed that was present, we weren't able to assess the wounds as well as we would like to have been able to.
So originally, the police believed all 3 victims were shot to death. But the results of the autopsies for each victim revealed something far more personal.
That these were in fact not gunshot wounds. They were actually lacerations that were penetrating with a blunt object.
Clearly, something was missing. When the police returned to the scene of the crime, they found a 5-pound pickaxe lying on the ground just over the fence of the adjacent property. And the pickaxe contained bloodstains.
What the pickaxe did provide us was DNA from all 3 victims. So we unequivocally had our murder weapon. However, we were unable to forensically link a suspect to the pickaxe.
So what does that mean? A murder weapon with DNA of the victims, but nothing to indicate a suspect?
It could mean a number of things, that maybe they were wearing gloves or they covered their hands in some way or shape or form. And just sometimes the lab just can't find it. It's not 100% certainty that they're going to be able to find DNA when something is touched. There's a chance that we will, but it doesn't always work out that way.
So the one thing about the Ortiz murder was really the pressure on the police.
Reporter Alex Tomlin covered the story for a local TV station.
There was an incredible amount of pressure from that small-knit community, but also the surrounding communities. And so there was a lot of pressure on them to get who did it, make it a clean investigation, and let's get this person behind bars. And I'm sure at times that pressure was overwhelming.
The people of El Rancho couldn't shake the fear that they could be next.
Nobody wants to think that they're going to go to sleep and somebody who's pickaxed a couple and their son to death is going to come into their home next.
They even refused to talk to TV reporters, not because they felt pestered, but they were fearful of their own safety.
And that's the other terrifying thing. Think about the strength it takes to push that pickaxe back multiple times and pickaxe someone to death. That is cold-blooded. That is calculated. That is incredibly scary for a community because that person is dangerous. When you can't easily tie up a case like this, when you can't say, oh, it's, a scorned lover or it's, a drug deal gone wrong or different things like that, then it becomes well, am I next? You want to find who did this because you don't want the community looking at you and saying, what are you doing? Why aren't you protecting us? Why don't you have the answers?
With no suspects, a weapon and murder scene free of any DNA, investigators started to look at the person who first discovered the bodies. That person was Cherie Ortiz.
When something this horrific happens, the community wants answers, and they want them quickly, right? So you want to be able to tie a nice bow on this thing and be done with it. And Cherie and her husband seemed like that nice bow. They lived on the property. You could come up with a motive.
The police wondered if Cherie and her husband Jesse knew more than they were saying, especially after they listened back to Cherie's original 911 call.
She's very frantic in that 911 call, as you can hear.
They're dead. They have gunshot wounds to the head. They're dead.
She made some comments on that 911 call about, they must have been shot because of how they looked.
I just walked in their house and everybody shot in the head. My brother, my dad, and my mom's still dead.
It wasn't later until the Office of the Medical Investigator determined that actually they had been pickaxed to death.
And you have no idea who would have done that?
Oh, no.
Do you see anybody around?
No, I didn't even know. I didn't even look. I just freaked out. Oh, my God, they were such good people. Oh, my God, 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 oh, my God. We have to hurry.
Desperate and upset, Cherie spent 17 minutes on that 911 call. But as investigators listened back, they zeroed in on a comment Cherie said. Now, listen closely to what Cherie told the operator.
They've been dead since the morning. They've been dead since the morning.
So Cherie said her parents had been dead since that morning. How did she know that? And why didn't she call 911 till 7 that evening?
I can't believe I didn't come check earlier this morning. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. Why? And all because I didn't have money for a Father's Day gift. I didn't want to go until I finished cooking enchiladas for him.
They 100% thought she was a main suspect.
I can't believe this is happening.
On June 11th, 1998, a deputy from the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department went missing.
It's an all-out manhunt for John Auger. Every search and rescue team in LA County has been called in to help.
Within days, tips started flooding into the sheriff's department.
The rumor around the drug scene was that a deputy was taken care of.
Is this the story of a man who just got lost in the desert? Or of a cover-up inside the nation's largest sheriff's department?
A homicide captain saying, "Detective, do not find out if this guy's guilty or innocent." Who does that?
Valley of Shadows, a new series from Pushkin Industries about crime and corruption in California's high desert.
Do you have any advice for us while looking into this disappearance?
I wouldn't do it alone.
Listen to Valley of Shadows on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
You know Roald Dahl, the writer who thought up Willy Wonka, Matilda, and the BFG. But did you know he was also a spy?
Was this before he wrote his stories? It must have been.
Our new podcast series, The Secret World of Roald Dahl, is a wild journey through the hidden chapters of his extraordinary, controversial life.
His job was literally to seduce the wives of powerful Americans.
What?
And he was really good at it.
You probably won't believe it either.
Okay, I don't think that's true.
I'm telling you, the guy was a spy.
Did you know Dahl got cozy with the Roosevelts, played poker with Harry Truman, and had a long affair with a congresswoman? And then he took his talents to Hollywood, where he worked alongside Walt Disney and Alfred Hitchcock before writing a hit James Bond film. How did this secret agent wind up as the most successful children's author ever? And what darkness from his covert past seeped into the stories we read as kids? The true story is stranger than anything he ever wrote. Listen to The Secret World of Roald Dahl on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Talking to your kids about the dangers of vaping can be hard. Getting them to listen to hot gossip is easy. So here's some drama you could share with your kid. Dude, did you hear about Cassie and Jake? No, but did you hear that vaping can cause irreversible lung damage and nicotine affects brain development? Nuh-uh. You don't need to gossip if you want to have an open conversation about vaping. So if you want to get tips on when and how to talk to your kids, visit talkaboutvaping.org. Brought to you by the American Lung Association and the Ad Council.
When Lloyd, Dixie, and Stephen Ortiz were brutally murdered in their El Rancho home, their daughter Cherie and her husband Jesse appeared to investigators to be the only people with motive and the access to execute such a violent crime. For months, Cherie and Jesse felt the stares and heard the whispers. Their pastor, John Trujillo, tried to be the voice of reason.
I think when you have to go through that, like Jesse and Cherie did, I think it was just a reassurance that said, listen, you need to do this. You need to go through this. Just cooperate with the state police, investigators, whatever you need to do, because it's just a process of elimination. They're looking for answers just as much as everybody else is. And they need a starting point somewhere. Just go through the process, answer the questions, be honest, be truthful, and let them eliminate you. And then they can move forward from there.
So there were a number of red flags that required us to investigate Cherie and Jesse to the fullest.
State Police Agent Paul Chavez toed the difficult line of questioning a mourning Cherie.
Could family gain from the death of the victim? Sure they can if there's insurance policies in place, or is there property in place? Is there something to be gained? That's definitely something that was going to be looked at.
Investigators asked about Cherie's credit card debt and the fact that she didn't pay her car loans or even the rent on her RV. And then there was this. Cherie also told investigators that she had removed $80,000 in cash from her parents' home. But she didn't tell this to police until 3 days after the murders.
Jesse and Cherie involvement couldn't be ruled out.
Jesse and Cherie told detectives that they were at a local casino on the night of the murders. But
there was some conflicting statements between Cherie and Jesse.
The triple murder that rocked the close-knit village of El Rancho turned friends into enemies, families into suspects.
At the time, there was a lot of speculation about her and her husband and whether or not they had been involved in this crime.
Alex Tomlin worked as a reporter for a local TV station.
The case was a little bit cold at this time, and we got a call saying she's willing to talk to you.
Cherie was on the defensive and wanting to publicly clear her name. So she scheduled an interview with Alex.
Cherie offered to show me the home where her parents had lived and had been murdered.
Alex met Cherie at her home and interviewed her just steps away from where Lloyd, Dixie, and Stephen were murdered.
I remember distinctly being in the kitchen, and we were talking about her brother, Stephen. And, when the autopsy came out, he had held about a dozen or so blows, I think, about maybe 17 blows. And I remember her talking to me about how he was such a big guy, that he was kind of a teddy bear, but he was such a big guy. And it's such a weird sensation when you're standing in someone's kitchen and you're seeing marks on the floor and their body had been there. And, she cried a lot during that interview, understandably, but really thinking about this young man coming out who didn't really have the cognitive ability to understand what was happening, very much still a child kind of in a man's body. And to have that many blows to him, my only thought in that moment was he must have been trying to protect his parents. He must have been really scared. He must have really fought back. And that was just so sad. It was so sad to think about those final moments and what that must have been like for him, either knowing that he was dying or knowing that something had happened to his parents. It was just really traumatic, standing there and knowing this is where he died, and he died in such a violent way.
With the cameras rolling, Alex asked Cherie about the investigation.
I believe they're going through it with tunnel vision, just specifically focusing on us instead of the real people. I know it had to be people. How could one person do that?
So it left this very weird sensation in the community where some people were still speculating, other people really believed them. Why would they do this?
Cherie said her parents had life insurance, but she could not collect that money since she and her husband were considered suspects. And without that money, Cherie said they couldn't pay their bills and worried their homes would be foreclosed.
So it was really this sense from her of trying to advocate for herself, but advocate for her parents and her brother to say, I need to know who killed them. And at the same time, I need people to know it wasn't me. And so that was really what the conversation centered around.
We could lose everything my dad worked so hard for.
I actually saw marks on the floor and different things like that where this had happened. It was a really horrific experience.
something has to give. I really do have hope. I know this is going to get solved.
With tears in her eyes, Cherie then looked into the camera to try to clear her name and her husband Jesse's as well.
We had nothing to do with it. My God, that was my mom and my dad and my little brother.
It was no secret that the two were being looked at in the triple murder. But were they that desperate for money that they would murder their own family? Paul Chavez investigated.
If you don't investigate Jesse and Cherie to the fullest, you make a very easy argument for a defense attorney to create doubt in a jury's mind. And that's exactly what would have happened if we had not followed up on all of the red flags that came up during the course of the investigation.
But as the investigation dragged on, Cherie shifted the blame back on the state police. She claimed that they botched the investigation and said casino security guards or even children could have done a better job. Against the advice of law enforcement, Cherie even set up a P.O. box where people could anonymously submit information about who might be responsible. A year after the murders, the police promised a press conference to share some breaking news on the case. But that press conference never happened.
There was a lot of leads that came in that were followed up on, but none of them panned out.
A billboard even went up along a local highway with a picture of Lloyd, Dixie, and Stephen that offered a $1,000 reward for information. But still, there were no arrests.
That was the hardest part of this case for me, was knowing that we have not been able to bring justice for this family.
And it wasn't just Cherie who was pressuring the New Mexico State Police. Here's TV reporter Alex Tomlin.
There was an incredible amount of pressure from that small-knit community, but also the surrounding communities and pretty much all of the state saying, you've got to find who did this. You could not take a family who more people said nice things about and have a more awful thing happen to them. I mean, they are bludgeoned to death with a pickaxe.
Publicly, the police didn't reveal much about other potential suspects, but behind the scenes, it was a different story. Aside from Cherie and her husband Jesse, investigators interviewed numerous people. Then, 16 months after the murders, a local 23-year-old woman named Ashley Roybal got arrested. While she's in custody, she tells the police something astonishing.
Is it okay to call you Ashley? All right, I understand that you know some details.
I know who did it.
Ashley tells detectives that she knows who killed Lloyd, Dixie, and Stephen Ortiz.
It isn't until Ashley Roybal gets in trouble that all of a sudden she's willing to tell police what happened.
I'll just let you go ahead and tell me the story.
It was almost like the answer everyone had been waiting for.
Ashley Roybal kept quiet for 16 months. During that time, Cherie juggled losing her mom, dad, and brother while being looked at by everyone as a suspect. All while she couldn't collect their life insurance money and was scared she'd lose everything. But now, 16 months later, Ashley was finally ready to talk?
And this was the turning point in the investigation.
But would anyone believe Ashley?
There's things that kind of don't match up. There's shifting stories.
We just want the truth.
They say the wheels of justice move very slowly. And in this case, that would prove to be an understatement.
And I remember thinking, oh God, here we go again. This poor family has been through the ringer.
I would have never suspected that it was going to come down to this.
Find out what Ashley says really happened that night on part 2 of the Father's Day murders. That's next time on American Homicide. You can contact the American Homicide team by emailing us at americanhomicidepod@gmail.com. That's americanhomicidepod@gmail.com. American Homicide is hosted and written by me, Sloan Glass, and is a production of Glass Podcasts, a division of Glass Entertainment Group in partnership with iHeart Podcasts. The show is executive produced by Nancy Glass and Todd Gans. The series is also written and produced by Todd Gans, with additional writing by Ben Fetterman and Andrea Gunning. Our associate producer is Kristen Melchiori. Our iHeart team is Ali Perry and Jessica Kreinchak. Audio editing and mixing by Matt Del Vecchio. Additional editing support from Nick Aruka, Tanner Robbins, Britt Robichaux, Dave Saya, and Patrick Walsh. American Homicide's theme song was composed by Oliver Baines of Noiser. Music library provided by My Music. Follow American Homicide on Apple Podcasts. And please rate and review American Homicide. Your 5-star review goes a long way towards helping others find this show. For more podcasts from iHeart, visit the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
On June 11, 1998, a deputy from the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department went missing.
Hey, if they'll kill a cop and bury him, what are they going to do to me?
What really happened to the missing deputy? Valley of Shadows, a new series from Pushkin Industries about crime and corruption in California's high desert.
Listen to Valley of Shadows on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Talking to your kids about the dangers of vaping can be hard. Getting them to listen to hot gossip is easy. So here's some drama you could share with your kid. Dude, did you hear about Cassie and Jake? No, but did you hear that vaping can cause irreversible lung damage and nicotine affects brain development? Nuh-uh. You don't need to gossip if you want to have an open conversation about vaping. So if you want to get tips on when and how to talk to your kids, visit talkaboutvaping.org. Brought to you by the American Lung Association and the Ad Council.
You know, we always say new year, new me, but real change starts on the inside. It starts with giving your mind and your spirit the same attention you give your goals. Hey, everybody, it's Michelle Williams, host of Checking In on the Black Effect Podcast Network. And on my podcast, we talk mental health, healing, growth, and everything you need to step into your next season, whole and empowered. New year, real you. Listen to Checking In with Michelle Williams from the Black Effect Podcast Network on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcast, or wherever you get your podcasts.
This is an iHeart podcast. Guaranteed human.
On June 11, 1998, a deputy from the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department went missing.
Hey, if they'll kill a cop and bury him, what are they going to do to me?
What really happened to the missing deputy? Valley of Shadows, a new series from Pushkin Industries about crime and corruption in California's high desert.
Listen to Valley of Shadows on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
You know, we always say new year, new me, but real change starts on the inside. It starts with giving your mind and your spirit the same attention you give your goals. Hey, everybody, it's Michelle Williams, host of Checking In on the Black Effect Podcast Network. And on my podcast, we talk mental health, healing, growth, and everything you need to step into your next season, whole and empowered. New year, real you. Listen to Checking In with Michelle Williams from the Black Effect Podcast Network on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcast, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Hey listeners, I'm Sean Flynn, host of the Brothers Ortiz podcast, and I'm excited to share this riveting story with you. But I'm also excited to tell you that you can now get access to all episodes of the Brothers Ortiz 100% ad-free and 1 week early through the iHeart True Crime Plus subscription, available exclusively on Apple Podcasts. Plus, you'll get access to other chart-topping true crime shows you love, like The Girlfriends, Paper Ghosts, Piketon Massacre, Murder Homes, Unrestorable, The Godmother, Betrayal, and more. So don't wait. Head to Apple Podcasts, search for iHeart True Crime Plus, and subscribe today.
All right, Ashley, you have the right to remain silent. If you give up that right, anything you say can be used against you in court. You have the right to talk to a lawyer now and have him or her...
It's October 2012, and 25-year-old Ashley Roybal is in custody in New Mexico. She was charged with burglary and felony larceny and waived her right to remain silent. Instead, Ashley told investigators that she had some information about the unsolved murders of Lloyd, Dixie, and Stephen Ortiz. The three were bludgeoned to death by a pickaxe on Father's Day 2011 in the tiny town of El Rancho, New Mexico.
I'm actually the lead case agent on the triple homicide of the Ortiz family in El Rancho. Okay?
It had been 16 months, and there had been no arrest or even major leads in the case. The victim's daughter, Cherie, was the only person talked about in town as a potential suspect.
I understand that you know some details.
I know who did it.
Imagine how surprised detectives were when Ashley says she knows who killed Lloyd, Dixie, and Stephen Ortiz.
So why are you telling us?
Because it's not right. Dixie and I are good people. I grew up with Stephen. I went to school with him, you know what I mean?
Yeah, detectives knew what she meant. Ashley Roybal says she was close with all three and mentioned that when her own mother died, it was Lloyd and Dixie who helped pay for her funeral.
I wanted to come forward, you know what I mean? And I couldn't.
So Ashley Roybal was finally ready to break her silence. I'm Sloan Glass, and this is the conclusion of the Father's Day murders on American Homicide. This podcast contains subject matter which may not be suitable for all audiences. Discretion is advised.
I've known Ashley since around 2001.
Pastor John Trujillo first met Ashley Roybal when she was in middle school.
She started coming to church as a little girl. Ashley and her sisters, we absolutely loved. She was always at the church, always. I don't think there wasn't a day that go by that her and her sisters were never at the church. They would come and clean. They would come and help us with the yard. They would help us with performances, with dramas. They were always part of our church. They were always part of our family.
The pastor also knew Ashley outside of the church.
She grew up with my sons because they were all the same age. She even went to prom with my oldest son. And it was strange because she was always willing to help. But as she got older, she became less and less involved in the church to the point where she never came back again.
All he knew is what he heard. Then Ashley went down the proverbial wrong path.
I would hear bits and pieces that she was running with some of the wrong people, with the wrong crowds, drinking, drug use, even to the point where she was even getting involved doing things a little bit criminal.
By the time Ashley turned 25, she racked up a lengthy rap sheet, including 3 felonies. Following her arrest in 2012, she decided to clear her conscience. She told the police she had first-hand information about the 2011 triple murder in El Rancho.
So it was Father's Day? Father's Day? Okay.
Ashley said back in the early morning hours of Father's Day 2011, Nick Ortiz needed Ashley to pick him up. But why did he call Ashley? Well, despite the fact that she was several years older than him, Nick was Ashley's ex-boyfriend. So this gets a little confusing. Although Nick shared the same last name as Lloyd, Dixie, and Stephen, they aren't related, but they did act like family. And along with that, Nick was friends with Cherie Ortiz's son and her brother Stephen. Nick even lived with Cherie for a few weeks when he was having issues with his parents.
She would invite him to stay there, spend the night sometimes. He became, good friends with Cherie, Jesse, the kids. And he was part of our church.
Nick Ortiz also went to Pastor John's church.
Nicholas was there almost pretty consistently and always willing to help. If we were doing something at the church, what do you need me to do? Or he would go to the youth pastor and say, what can I help out with this? Or what can I do here? And, constantly wanting to be part of what we were doing. He showed himself to be a pleasant young man.
Let's get back to what happened in the early morning hours of Father's Day 2011 when Nick called Ashley for a ride.
Do you remember how he sounded on the phone?
Panicked.
He sounded like he was in trouble?
Yeah. Just come get me, he said.
According to Ashley, Nick said he was near Stephen Ortiz's house, so Ashley drove there. But when she arrived, she knew something was wrong. Nick looked disheveled, and he had a trash bag covering his shoes.
Now, when you picked him up,
he had blood all over his hands. And he was all f***ed up. That's when he told me that he had used a pickaxe. He told me that he got Lloyd first, and then Stephen in the kitchen, then Dixie in the bedroom.
You heard that right. Ashley says Nick admitted to killing Lloyd, Dixie, and Stephen Ortiz.
Did he ever give an explanation why it happened?
Well, he told me his intentions were to go and rob them.
Ashley said Nick knew Lloyd had cash and a marijuana grow at the house because he had spent so much time there. But instead of robbing them, Nick killed all 3 and then left without any money or drugs. And then, according to Ashley, he threatened her and told her she better keep quiet.
And we've talked to Nick a couple times already. But if he decides to give it up and starts naming a bunch of other names, we need to know if you're going to come up.
I mean, I did pick him up that night, but that's all I did.
So as you can imagine, the detectives wondered why Ashley finally decided to break her silence. They spent the next few days looking into Ashley's story, and when they reviewed Nick Ortiz's cell phone records from the night of the murders, something stood out. So they brought Ashley back for more questioning.
There's a lot more that you're not telling us. Again, there's a lot more involvement from some different people, and that's what we need to clarify.
After combing Nick's cell phone records from that night, they learned a third person was involved. So who else was there that night?
Jose.
Ashley said this mysterious third person was Jose.
So why protect Jose?
Ashley said she was protecting Jose because he is her cousin. At the time of the murders, Jose Roybal was just 15 years old. And omitting this information upset detectives.
I don't want to call the district attorney and say she gave us a lot of good information, but for some reason she withheld this from us. We don't need that.
And that's when Ashley changed her story and admitted that her cousin Jose was also there that night. Reporter Alex Tomlin covered this story.
So Ashley tells the police that they concoct this plan to go over and steal money and marijuana, and that Nicholas knows the house. He knows the family. It's going to be in and out, right? She drops the two guys, Jose and Nick, off at the family's house. The way the story goes from there is Jose kind of backs out, doesn't want to be part of it. But Nicholas decides to go ahead and go in. And he goes in, he commits the crimes, and he calls to get picked up. And she picks him up. He's obviously disheveled. I'm sure he's extremely covered in blood after this horrific crime. And he's thrown the pickaxe, which was later found in the field. Ashley Roybal gives him a place to stay, cleans him up, all that. And really, they all kept quiet.
The police then questioned Jose Roybal, and Jose said Ashley's story was not true. He claims it was Ashley who came up with the idea to go in and murder the Ortizes.
She supposedly gives them socks to cover their hands, trash bags to cover their feet.
Not only that, but Jose said Ashley left out another key detail. She's the one who provided the murder weapon, her grandfather's pickaxe. All of it left investigators wondering who and what to believe.
There's things that kind of don't match up, there's shifting stories, and then of course there's always the element that, again, she was facing her own criminal charges on other things. So with Ashley and Jose, the question always remains, what part did they really play?
Although the cousins disagreed on some major details, they both told investigators that the murderer was Nick Ortiz.
It also just seemed so random. It was almost like the answer everyone had been waiting for, that surely someone must have broken in for something and done this. But at the same time, it's been several years, nobody had heard anything. All of a sudden it comes forward that it's these teenagers. And not only is it teenagers, it's teenagers who had been welcomed with open arms into this family. And that was even more of a blow. But it started to make sense that, well, yeah, because he knew the house. He knew how they were. He knew that he could get in. And supposedly that they had this cash.
Nick was living with the Ortizes, but then just 2 weeks before the murders, Nick had a falling out with them, and Lloyd kicked Nick out. But were things so bad that Nick returned to kill them?
The only thing that adds up to me is thinking about it in the mindset of a teenager. Quick cash, some pot, it's gonna be easy. And it just, but yeah, I mean, like as an adult sitting here, what? Like, everything about this is so ridiculous.
The detectives have to figure out who's telling the truth, Ashley or Jose Roybal. And they figured the best way to do that was to question Nick Ortiz.
On June 11th, 1998, a deputy from the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department went missing.
It's an all-out manhunt for John Auger. Every search and rescue team in LA County has been called in to help.
Within days, tips started flooding into the Sheriff's Department.
The rumor around the drug scene was that a deputy was taken care of.
Is this the story of a man who just got lost in the desert? Or of a cover-up inside the nation's largest sheriff's department?
A homicide captain saying, "Detective, do not find out if this guy's guilty or innocent." Who does that?
Valley of Shadows, a new series from Pushkin Industries about crime and corruption in California's high desert.
Do you have any advice for us while looking into this disappearance?
I wouldn't do it alone.
Listen to Valley of Shadows on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
You know Roald Dahl, the writer who thought up Willy Wonka, Matilda, and the BFG. But did you know he was also a spy?
Was this before he wrote his stories? It must have been.
Our new podcast series, The Secret World of Roald Dahl, is a wild journey through the hidden chapters of his extraordinary, controversial life.
His job was literally to seduce the wives of powerful Americans.
What?
And he was really good at it.
You probably won't believe it either.
Okay, I don't think that's true.
I'm telling you, the guy was a spy.
Did you know Dahl got cozy with the Roosevelts, played poker with Harry Truman, and had a long affair with a congresswoman? And then he took his talents to Hollywood, where he worked alongside Walt Disney and Alfred Hitchcock before writing a hit James Bond film. How did this secret agent wind up as the most successful children's author ever? And what darkness from his covert past seeped into the stories we read as kids? The true story is stranger than anything he ever wrote. Listen to The Secret World of Roald Dahl on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Like if we're on the air here, and I literally have my contract here, and I'm looking at, as soon as I sign this, I'm going to get a 7-figure check. I've told them I won't be working here in 2 weeks.
From the underground clubs that shaped global music to the pastors and creatives who built the cultural empire, the Atlanta Is podcast uncovers the stories behind one of the most influential cities in the world.
The thing I love about Atlanta is that it's a city of hustlers, man.
Each episode explores a different chapter of Atlanta's rise, featuring conversations with Ludacris, Will Packer, Pastor Jamal Bryant, DJ Drama, and more. The full series is available to listen to now.
I really just had never experienced anything like what was going on in the city as far as seeing so many young, black, affluent creatives in all walks of life.
The church had dwindled almost to nothing, and God said, "This is your assignment."
And that's how you know, you from Atlanta for real. I ain't got to say too much. I'm a Grady baby. Shut up.
Listen to Atlanta Is on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Ashley Roybal is talking to New Mexico State Police. That's because the town of El Rancho, where the murder of Lloyd, Dixie, and Stephen Ortiz happened, doesn't have their own police force. So the state police had to get involved. According to Ashley, she said her ex-boyfriend Nick Ortiz killed Lloyd, Dixie, and Stephen Ortiz. Keep in mind that Nick shares the same last name of the victims, but they aren't related. But Ashley's cousin Jose says Ashley is the one who came up with the idea to murder the Ortizes. He says she even provided the pickaxe. Ashley refuted this. She claimed she was simply the getaway driver that night. Despite their differences, both cousins accused Nick Ortiz of actually carrying out the murders. And in another crazy twist, the state police heard a third version of what happened when they questioned Nick Ortiz.
Your name has come up quite a bit, and we're talking in reference to the Ortiz homicide, which happened a little over 2 years ago in 2011. And I know we had talked to you a few times about it, so I'm hoping that you can run me by pretty much what happened.
So Nick agreed that he was with Jose Roybal the day before the murders.
Me and him were just been hanging out, just normal stuff, drinking a little bit, getting high.
But Nick said he was back home with his parents by 10 p.m. that night.
And then what'd you do after 10 p.m.?
I watched a few movies. I woke my dad up around 1 in the morning and tell him Happy Father's Day. After that, I went to sleep.
It's not easy to make out what Nick is saying, but he told investigators that after watching a few movies, he woke up his dad around 12 or 1 a.m. to wish him a Happy Father's Day. And then Nick said he went back to sleep.
But I have evidence that shows that you're lying to me. I have phone records that prove that you were at a certain place after 10 p.m. and it wasn't home. I've talked to Jose recently, and I know that you guys were together after 10 p.m. I know he didn't drive you home at that time, and if he did, you guys left again later.
I don't know, I was with him and Ashley, I don't know.
Oh, I know you were with them.
Yeah.
Because you want to know something that's really interesting? Her phone shows the same spot. You want to know where that place is at?
Where?
That's the Ortiz residence.
Okay.
You were there that night.
I'm gonna be honest with you, and this is really the only thing I can remember.
Okay.
We had broken into their house and stole a gun.
You said this was at Steven's house, right?
Yeah.
How'd you guys get into the house?
There was a bathroom window that was open. Climbed into there.
Okay.
And honestly, that's the only thing I could remember that might have happened around there that time.
So Nick admitted to breaking into the Ortiz's house and stealing a gun, but he didn't admit to the murders.
I know you guys did some stuff after that. We've talked to all these people. Nick, we've done so much work. It's been 2 years.
Yeah.
These people have finally decided to say, I don't want to lie to you guys anymore. This is what happened. So why are these people putting themselves at or around the Ortiz residence and saying they were with you? Why would they throw themselves under the bus?
I don't know.
This doesn't look good for you, Nick.
I mean, I want this to be over as much as you guys do. Believe me, I do. I'm tired of having to look over my shoulder. I know you guys follow me. I'm not dumb. I see you guys every now and then. And I'm tired of it. I just want it to be over.
After 90 minutes of back and forth, investigators finally had Nick cornered. But they weren't expecting what he said next.
With all due respect to you guys and all that, I'd really like to just stop talking and go home now.
Nicholas, when he was in church, really never told us a whole lot about any of this.
John Trujillo was the pastor at Nick's church.
At one point, Nicholas did. Nicholas came and says, it feels like something's unraveling or coming down the pipe and I just need some prayer. And I said, well, what's going on? What did you do? What happened? He says, well, I can't say anything right now, but can you just pray for me? And you could see that he was very troubled. So we prayed with him. I kind of had my suspicions that this was because of the murders, because, just how distraught he was and how nervous he was and how scared he was. That was a different type of scare. It wasn't like a scare you were going to get in trouble for wrecking the car or for getting a speeding ticket. This was a deep-rooted fear that I saw in him.
In small towns like El Rancho, everybody knew one another. And if someone was in trouble, it was public knowledge.
So at that point, I'm like, okay, now it's starting to make sense. Now I can understand that deep, deep, deep fear that Nicholas was dealing with because all of this was starting to come undone.
In February 2015, almost 4 years after the murders, police finally put a warrant out for Nick Ortiz's arrest. Cherie and Jesse Ortiz, who earlier were thought to be suspects, were stunned.
They were in shock, almost disbelief. He stayed with them. He was part of their family. He's part of the church family. We couldn't believe it. I was like, the Nicholas that's helping out, the Nicholas that's here every night, the Nicholas, I never saw that coming at all.
Nick Ortiz was charged with 3 counts of first-degree murder.
Some people were in such disbelief. They're wrong. He didn't do it. He didn't do it. Then you had those that were saying, finally they caught the killer. I knew it was him. I knew it was him.
With a small town divided, Nick Ortiz's trial kicked off in the summer of 2016.
My name is Dan Marlowe. I was hired by Nicholas Ortiz's mother and father to represent him on the charges of murder.
The trial was held in Santa Fe, New Mexico, about 25 miles from the murder scene.
I've done a lot of trials. I try not to overreact to anything, to just be neutral and fair and even-keeled. But, I have to say, I was uncomfortable, with the large contingent of people from El Rancho.
The El Rancho group was made up of friends and neighbors of the victims who wanted to see Nick Ortiz locked up for life.
I was concerned that there was going to be some kind of physical confrontation out in the front of the courthouse between the Ortiz family and the group from El Rancho. So there was some sparks there, definitely.
It took the police nearly 4 years to charge Nick Ortiz, and his lawyer thought the case against him was weak.
The defendant in this case had a real tight relationship with the Ortiz family. He was almost like one of their children. He loved both of them. both Dixie and Lloyd, and got along really well with them.
At the time of the murders, Nick Ortiz was just 16 years old. A scroll through his social media account showed a teenager who took a lot of shirtless selfies and posted motivational quotes like, "Your future is created by what you do today, not tomorrow." But the thing that stood out the most in the courtroom was that Nick stood just 5 feet 5 inches tall. Was he capable of pickaxing 3 people to death?
Wasn't the kind of person that would do something like this, in my perception. And I believed that he did not do it. I believe that he may have had something to do with planning it or saying, yeah, let's go in and get this money. But he did not want anything to do with the physicality of killing these people.
At the trial, jurors heard from 2 witnesses testifying that they heard Nick admit to the murders. But one of those witnesses was incarcerated at the time of the trial. Cherie's son, Robert, also testified. He said he was friends with Nick Ortiz and that Nick joined the family on trips. They were generous to him. Nick even lived at their house for a few months while he was having problems at home. But things changed just 2 weeks before the murders. Lloyd caught Nick trying to steal from them and kicked him out. As heartbreaking as it is to hear Robert's testimony against Nick, the prosecution's 2 key witnesses were cousins Ashley and Jose Roybal.
Both of those individuals were cousins, and Jose knew Nicholas. They were bros, so to speak, considered themselves to be gang members, although there was no gang that they were really associated with.
Ashley testified that the plan was to rob the Ortizes of money and marijuana, and that she was simply the getaway driver. But her cousin Jose disagreed. He said it was Ashley who came up with the idea of murdering the Ortizes. Although their stories differed, they did agree on one thing.
Both he and Ashley said that Nicholas was the one that did it. And Jose and Ashley's story did not match in any way during the planning, after the commission of the crime, all of that, which showed me that there was some problems there. There was conflicts in the testimony.
Aside from their stories not matching up, the defense claimed both witnesses had some real credibility issues. Ashley was in her mid-20s and already had 3 prior felony convictions. When she was facing new charges, that's when she decided to cooperate with the police and named Nick as the killer. The defense pointed out how prosecutors offered Ashley some leniency in exchange for testimony.
And she and Jose were real tight. They were first cousins. They had every reason to put the blame on Nicholas in order to get out of it. Huge motive.
Jose Roybal was just 15 years old at the time of the murders, and in exchange for his testimony, he received immunity.
Of course, I'm a naturally suspicious person because I'm a defense lawyer, but these are the kind of things that I look at. It didn't set right with me.
The defense argued that there was no physical evidence linking Nick Ortiz to the murders.
There was nothing. There was no DNA, no fingerprints, nothing.
Nick Ortiz did not take the stand in his own defense, but his parents did. They testified that on the evening before Father's Day, they all had dinner together and then watched movies. Nick's father said he was in bed just after midnight when Nick came into his bedroom to wish him a happy Father's Day. His mother had even more to say. She said she saw Nick sleeping on the couch when she returned home from work the next morning.
Basically, they saw him earlier that evening, and then they didn't see him for a while, and then he was there the next morning.
But even though the intention was to help their son, they did him no favors when they shared this. They said Nick never stayed at Cherie's house. The only time he spent any extended period away from home was with a relative. The defense then shifted back to the murder victim's daughter, Cherie Ortiz.
Cherie was always complaining about not having any money, always, whining about it, and her conflict with Lloyd, and the fact that she needed money and was willing to do anything to get money. That's why I suspected that she was part of it. And I still do suspect that, and I probably always will.
The case went to the jury on the Thursday before Memorial Day. By the following Wednesday, a week later, the jury remained hopelessly deadlocked. Just 8 of the 12 jurors voted to convict Nick, which resulted in a hung jury.
Which means a hung jury is a mistrial. Then you just retry the case again.
6 months would pass before Nick Ortiz's retrial.
On June 11th, 1998, a deputy from the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department went missing.
It's an all-out manhunt for John Auger. Every search and rescue team in LA County has been called in to help.
Within days, tips started flooding into the sheriff's department.
The rumor around the drug scene was that a deputy was taken care of.
Is this the story of a man who just got lost in the desert? Or of a cover-up inside the nation's largest sheriff's department?
A homicide captain saying, "Detective, do not find out if this guy's guilty or innocent." Who does that?
Valley of Shadows, a new series from Pushkin Industries about crime and corruption in California's high desert.
Do you have any advice for us while looking into this disappearance?
I wouldn't do it alone.
Listen to Valley of Shadows on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
You know Roald Dahl, the writer who thought up Willy Wonka, Matilda, and the BFG. But did you know he was also a spy?
Was this before he wrote his stories? It must have been.
Our new podcast series, The Secret World of Roald Dahl, is a wild journey through the hidden chapters of his extraordinary, controversial life.
His job was literally to seduce the wives of powerful Americans.
What?
And he was really good at it.
You probably won't believe it either.
Okay, I don't think that's true.
I'm telling you, the guy was a spy.
Did you know Dahl got cozy with the Roosevelts, played poker with Harry Truman, and had a long affair with a congresswoman? And then he took his talents to Hollywood, where he worked alongside Walt Disney and Alfred Hitchcock before writing a hit James Bond film. How did this secret agent wind up as the most successful children's author ever? And what darkness from his covert past seeped into the stories we read as kids? The true story is stranger than anything he ever wrote. Listen to The Secret World of Roald Dahl on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Like if we're on the air here, and I literally have my contract here, and I'm looking at, as soon as I sign this, I'm going to get a 7-figure check. I've told them I won't be working here in 2 weeks.
From the underground clubs that shaped global music to the pastors and creatives who built the cultural empire, the Atlanta Is podcast uncovers the stories behind one of the most influential cities in the world.
The thing I love about Atlanta is that it's a city of hustlers, man.
Each episode explores a different chapter of Atlanta's rise, featuring conversations with Ludacris, Will Packer, Pastor Jamal Bryant, DJ Drama, and more. The full series is available to listen to now.
I really just had never experienced anything like what was going on in the city as far as seeing so many young, black, affluent creatives in all walks of life.
The church had dwindled almost to nothing. And God said, this is your assignment.
And that's how you know, okay, you from Atlanta for real. I ain't got to say too much. I'm a Grady baby. Shut up.
Listen to Atlanta Is on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
It took nearly 4 years for the police to charge Nick Ortiz with murdering Lloyd, Dixie, and Stephen Ortiz. And after a hung jury in his first trial, he was retried just after Thanksgiving 2016. Prosecutors painted Nick as a cold-blooded teenage killer. But the defense claimed that Nick had been set up, and the real killer was Jose Roybal. Dan Marlowe was Nick's lawyer.
I believe that Jose was hired to do this killing. And I think somebody else came in there and cleaned the scene up completely. So that there was no prints, there was no DNA, it was not what you would think would happen in a scene like that.
Although Jose Roybal freely admitted that he was at the scene that night, he was never charged in the Ortiz case and received immunity in exchange for his testimony against Nick.
He never spent a day in jail on this, not even an hour. He wasn't even a suspect.
So the defense lawyer told jurors that Jose walked around free as a bird with blood on his hands.
There's no way around that, in my opinion. Who knows what a jury's going to do? Nobody.
This time, the jury deliberated for 2 days and then returned with a verdict. On the 3 counts of first-degree murder, they found Nick Ortiz guilty. Nick buried his head in his hands as his family members inside the courtroom burst into tears. Then things got ugly. Nick was handcuffed and ushered out of the courtroom. His mother shouted profanities at prosecutors and vowed to appeal. The prosecutors didn't say a word and just exited the courthouse. For Cherie Ortiz, the nightmare for her and her family was finally over. Or was it? About 9 months later, a district judge reversed Nick Ortiz's conviction. In front of a packed courtroom, the judge said there had been a fundamental error with the jury instructions in the second trial. The courtroom was stunned. Nick Ortiz's family erupted in excitement and hugged one another. Even Nick's lawyer was surprised by the judge's decision.
It was highly, highly unusual.
Cherie Ortiz quickly exited without speaking to reporters. And the judge never elaborated on what was the fundamental error in the jury instructions. He also ordered that Nick be tried a third time. But then in 2019, 2 years later, and 8 years after the murders, the New Mexico State Supreme Court struck down the ruling and upheld Nick's conviction. And here, the decision came down to a technicality. Nick's legal team didn't file his appeal within the 10 days from the time of his conviction. Whether you believe Nick is guilty or not, it seems crazy that a lack of paperwork is what resulted in him getting a conviction. Defense lawyer Dan Marlowe agrees. He called the decision disgusting and cowardly.
It just bothered me a lot.
As for Nick's former girlfriend, Ashley Roybal, she was charged with conspiracy to commit aggravated burglary with a deadly weapon and tampering with evidence. As part of her plea deal with prosecutors, she'll serve no more than 10.5 years in prison. Meanwhile, Nick Ortiz faced up to 93 years behind bars. His lawyer argued that Nick needed rehabilitation services like therapy and probation, not prison time. The judge disagreed and sentenced Nick to 25 years for each count of first-degree murder. But Nick caught a break here because the judge allowed Nick to serve those sentences concurrently.
He is given 25 years, and in New Mexico, he will earn good time.
TV reporter Alex Tomlin covered the story.
So he will not spend, most likely, those 25 years in prison. He will be out before that.
New Mexico state law mandates Nick Ortiz to serve at least 85% of his 25-year sentence. With good behavior, he could be eligible for parole sometime around the year 2036, when Nick will be in his early 40s.
New Mexico has some interesting sentencing laws.
Cherie Ortiz called the sentence a slap in the face to her family and the New Mexico justice system. She placed the blame squarely on the shoulders of the judge and said she believes the New Mexico justice system is broken.
If you're part of the Ortiz family, it's never going to be, oh, this is Cherie and her husband. It's always going to be, oh, yeah, your parents were murdered. Oh, yeah, your brother was pickaxed to death. You know, it's always going to follow them. And it's going to almost kind of be like a scarlet letter.
Today, Cherie Ortiz and her family still live on the property where her parents and brother were slaughtered.
And I hope for her she's found some peace and that mourning doesn't haunt her.
While Ashley Roybal and Nick Ortiz received time in prison, Jose Roybal got off scot-free. And listen to this. In 2019, Cherie Ortiz told a local newspaper that Jose had even asked to collect a reward for helping to solve the murders.
It becomes almost every man for themselves. And that's kind of what happened in this case. Every man for themselves.
Pastor John Trujillo continues to pray for Cherie Ortiz and the community.
They're a very loved family in our community. The church backs them. The community backs them. Cherie's recently become a grandma. That helps with the healing process. It does. But this will always be there. It'll never, ever go away. It's hard enough to lose a family member to death, but to lose 3 through murder, that's a tough one.
Yes, it is. So as you can imagine, the Father's Day holiday continues to be a painful reminder now, Rancho, of the grisly murders of 2011.
This will always stay in our hearts and in our mindset that on Father's Day, this horrific crime took place. But it didn't have to end this way. It didn't. If it was a burglary that even went wrong, run. But to end the lives of 3 innocent people like this makes no sense at all. I've been pastoring this community for 20 years. We've never experienced or seen anything like this, and I pray we never, ever do again.
Next time on American Homicide, a young woman goes missing on the eve of her 21st birthday. After her body turns up, the search for the killer leads detectives to one of the most unlikely places, a church. I'm Sloan Glass. We'll be in Albuquerque, New Mexico. See you next week. You can contact the American Homicide team by emailing us at americanhomicidepod@gmail.com. That's americanhomicidepod@gmail.com. American Homicide is hosted and written by me, Sloan Glass, and is a production of Glass Podcasts, a division of Glass Entertainment Group in partnership with iHeart Podcasts. The show is executive produced by Nancy Glass and Todd Gans. The series is also written and produced by Todd Gans, with additional writing by Ben Fetterman and Andrea Gunning. Our associate producer is Kristen Malcurie. Our iHeart team is Allie Perry and Jessica Kreinchak. Audio editing and mixing by Matt Del Vecchio. Additional editing support from Nick Aruka, Tanner Robbins, Britt Robichaux, Dave Saya, and Patrick Walsh. American Homicide's theme song was composed by Oliver Baines of Noiser. Music library provided by My Music. Follow American Homicide on Apple Podcasts. And please rate and review American Homicide. Your 5-star review goes a long way towards helping others find this show. For more podcasts from iHeart, visit the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
On June 11th, 1998, a deputy from the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department went missing.
Hey, if they'll kill a cop and bury him, what are they going to do to me?
What really happened to the missing deputy? Valley of Shadows, a new series from Pushkin Industries about crime and corruption in California's high desert.
Listen to Valley of Shadows on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
You know, we always say new year, new me, but real change starts on the inside. It starts with giving your mind and your spirit the same attention you give your goals. Hey, everybody, it's Michelle Williams, host of Checking In on the Black Effect Podcast Network. And on my podcast, we talk mental health, healing, growth, and everything you need to step into your next season, whole and empowered. New year, real you. Listen to Checking In with Michelle Williams from the Black Effect Podcast Network on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcast, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Season 1 of Crying Wolf is here. We're thrilled to keep sharing these jaw-dropping stories with you. And now there's even more to discover. With an iHeart True Crime Plus subscription, only on Apple Podcasts, you'll unlock 100% ad-free listening on Crying Wolf and other fan favorites like Atlanta Monster, What Happened to Sandy Beale, and Sympathy Pains. Don't wait. New episodes are ready for you now. Open Apple Podcasts, search iHeart True Crime Plus, and subscribe today.
This is an iHeart podcast. Guaranteed Human.